Mumonkan, case number 41, Bodhidharma's mind pacifying. Bodhidharma sat facing the wall. The second patriarch, Eka, stood in the snow. He cut off his arm and presented it to Bodhidharma, crying, "My mind has no peace as yet. I beg you, Master, please pacify my mind and give it a rest." Bodhidharma replied, "Okay, bring your mind here and I will pacify it for you." Eka responded, "I have searched for my mind everywhere and have not been able to find it." Then I have put it to rest already," said Bodhidharma. We will stop here and we will cover Mumon's comment and Mumon's verse towards the end. Bodhidharma, first a little history for those who might not know. Bodhidharma is considered in Zen circles as the first Chinese patriarch, as he is the one bringing Zen from India to China. In fact, Buddhism had already spread in China for centuries before, but it was studied in a scholarly way. They were studying Buddhist texts, and it was studied at the level of stories, at the level of the intellect. Enlightenment was a bit seen like something to be attained in a future life, not now. As such, the original creative spirit of awakening in the here and now got lost. And Bodhidharma heard about that, and his Indian master, while he was originally from India, told him, "Look, this is what's happening in China. Why don't you go there and see what happens and see if you could bring something back of that original spark?" In spite of his already advanced age, Bodhidharma then traveled to China in the hope to reignite that spark of the living truth amongst the practitioners of Buddhism, and that happened around 520 AD. At first, he encountered no interest from the Chinese. So he settled in a relatively smaller temple near the city of Luoyang. And there he sat for 9 years in silence, facing the wall. They call this technique of meditation also wall gazing. And that actually attracted the interest of some of the Chinese who noticed him, because while he was sitting in silence facing the wall, one could tell that there was something very profound going on with this person in meditation. The second figure that we cover in this story is called Eka, and he's then Chinese, of course, and he would become Bodhidharma's successor in the Zen lineage. When he was young, Eka had read many Chinese classics and also Buddhist scriptures. He became a monk, visiting lecture masters left and right, and he also practiced meditation. In spite of all that, he remained very unsatisfied. So he kept searching, and ended up meeting Bodhidharma. And he was also very impressed by Bodhidharma's shining presence while sitting facing the wall. So after a while, he asked Bodhidharma, "Could you please teach me?" But Bodhidharma at first refused, saying, "How can a man of little virtue and much self-conceit even dream of achieving it?" That was quite a downer for our poor Eka. In spite of this, he refused to go and kept standing. It snowed heavily that day. At the end, after a day had passed, the snow even reached up to his knees, apparently. And Bodhidharma must have wondered what kind of nut was standing there behind him. So finally he asked, "What do you want? What are you doing there?" So Eka repeated his question. "I beg you again to teach me." And then the legend says that at that point, Eka cut off his arm and laid it down in front of Bodhidharma to show his determination and his virtue. And then the interaction that we have read took place. That is the moment where Eka said, "My mind has no peace yet. I beg you, please pacify my mind and give it a rest." Bodhidharma replied, "Well, bring your mind here and I will pacify it for you." Eka then responded, "I have searched for my mind everywhere and was not able to find it." "Oh, if that is so," Bodhidharma said, "I have then put it to rest already." The story is quite intense, and of course some of it is probably at the level of a legend. We should not take all these things too literally. But most interpretations of this koan I saw are focusing on the cutting of the arm to attain enlightenment. And some insist that one need to go through a dead of night experience or through a near-death experience in order to reach enlightenment. This could be true for some. But then on the other hand, let us not forget that what we are talking about is just being the natural state, is just to see our misinterpretation that we are not this body-mind, but that in which this body-mind appears. So it's just a matter of shifting our attention 180 degrees from the objects, including this body, including this mind, to that which observes, the subject. So how can that then be so difficult? Anyway, all that is nice and well, and it doesn't matter which side you would like to belong to. For me, at least, this koan is actually inviting us to do a meditation exercise, which I would like to propose to do together right here and now. Indeed, in this story, you basically have two figures. You have Bodhidharma facing a physical wall over 9 years, and the other guy, Eka, standing in the snow facing an unruly mind. Both apparently are surrounded by some kind of walls, like being in a prison. But while Bodhidharma sits in front of a real wall, a physical wall, in fact, he is free, he is shining. While Eka stands there in the snow surrounded by his mind wall, and he complains that he is not free. How can that be? That is, according to what my understanding is of this story, the crux of the matter that we should focus on. This also reminds me, by the way, of another Zen story. And here you have a master and a disciple. And the disciple asks, "Master, what is the way to liberation?" And the master responds, "Show me your chains." "But I don't have any chains," says the disciple. "Then why do you seek for liberation?" That is the little story on the side, which I think resembles a little bit what we are facing here in this koan. Anyway, let us now have a closer look to this prison surrounding us and see if we together right now can make some of these walls collapse. At first, I would like to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. So watch your thoughts and see how your thoughts form like a barrage, how they surround you completely. See how these thoughts form a stream of images and stories, just voices in your head. See how they are opaque, how they imprison you with you in the middle, the prisoner. Now shift your attention from those thoughts to the observer. That observer could be pictured as aware space. The thoughts appear in this space, and the thoughts may be limiting. But what about the space? Isn't the space limitless? When you identify with this space, doesn't it provide a taste of freedom? Where are the prison walls now? Just taste the vastness, boundlessness, transparent quality. That was the first exercise. We're going to do a second exercise together. We will repeat this, but this time focus on our bodily sensations. So take a moment now to watch the tensions in your body. Tensions in maybe your belly, maybe your upper back, maybe your heart region, maybe your face. And all these tensions seem to be forming a body shield. Feel how these sensations surround you and how opaque they are, how they imprison you in a way, with you in the middle, the prisoner. And now we continue again by shifting our attention to the observer of these tensions, of these bodily sensations. The observer can be pictured as aware space. The bodily sensations appear in this space. And while the sensations may be limiting, what about the space? Is that again not limitless? Where are the prison walls now? Taste again the vastness, boundlessness, colorlessness. For the third and last exercise, I invite you to do this with eyes open and look at all the surrounding objects. Look at the walls surrounding you, the ceiling, the floor, maybe some other furniture or people that are in the room. And see how all these colored objects form a precise shield around you. Feel how they surround you and feel how opaque all these objects are, how they imprison you, with you in the middle and all those colored objects surrounding you. Now again, shift your attention to the observer. The observer can again be seen as aware space. The surrounding objects appear in that space. Wall, ceiling, floor, they may be limiting, but what about the space? Isn't the space limitless? When you identify with this space, doesn't it provide you with a sense of freedom? Then where are the prison walls now? Taste the vastness, the boundlessness, the colorlessness of that space that you are. I hope that through these exercises we just did together, it may have given you some kind of a sense of the freedom that Bodhidharma was also experiencing, even though he was sitting facing the wall for 9 years. And I also hope that it may give you the sense on how Eka felt when Bodhidharma asked him to bring his mind, which Eka says was like a wall around him, and him being the prisoner of that, and that at that point Eka realized he's aware space. There is no mind there then to bring to Bodhidharma. Anyway, let's continue with Mumon's comment. The broken-toothed old Hindu, that's Bodhidharma, crossed the sea from thousands of miles away, from India to China. This was raising waves when there is no wind. Indeed, from water point of view, there are no waves, just water. And there is no need then to raise any waves when you realize that. Only in his last years was Bodhidharma able to have one disciple, and even he was just a cripple. Well. Yes, that's Eka. He cut off his arm, so he became a cripple. Well indeed. The aware space is so available, so accessible. So it's actually kind of strange that Bodhidharma only got one disciple at the end of his life. I doubt that somehow. This is only how things got written down many years later. We still have Mumon's verse coming from the west and directly pointing. He entrusted the Dharma to Eka. That means Bodhidharma entrusted the Dharma to Eka. And all the trouble arose from that. The jungle of monks, all thousands and millions of monks that we have had throughout that time, and the clamor of all the monasteries, all the noisy monasteries that existed throughout the hundreds of years. All these come from these two chaps. So much trouble for something so near. So much ado about nothing. It is quite a surprise. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with the next episode soon.